is the Friday night. It's Neil Atkinson with Beth Lindsay, with Rob Gutman and with Paul Johnson. We are with our friends at Erdinger as well. It is lunchtime when we're recording, so we're the Friday afternoon, you're the Friday night, as and when it comes through, and that has filtered into some decision-making process, which is perfectly reasonable, and everyone is a big fan of the Erdinger non-alcoholic anyway, regardless. But first thing I want to know is, how much did you enjoy Wednesday night?
Enormously.
Wasn't it about the most fun you can have watching a football match?
Yeah, the peril being taken away beforehand in that it's the League Cup and all is taken away. But I don't know, when I was watching...
But there's some peril because you want to see Liverpool win the game.
Once, you know, all the cliches abide. Once it kicks off, you're just in the business of winning the football match and want us to win. And I wasn't... When we went 2 goals up, and I think twice in the commentary, that's it, it's done. And I went, bet it's not. Bet it's not done.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Brighton are feisty and lively. And it wasn't done till, you know, I was blowing my imaginary whistle at the TV to the ref to get it done. He was actually prompt this time. This how they're not anymore. Yes. They never blow one the 5 minutes, whatever it is. Yeah, so no, felt a relief, it felt a good win. I thought we played well.
Just out of interest, what sort of whistle is your imaginary whistle?
In my head.
You get tin, Swanee.
Oh no. Referee standard issue.
Is it referee standard issue? Is that your imaginary whistle? Okay.
Listen, me go. Well, if you laugh and you can't whistle.
No, absolutely. I mean, put Gutman's imaginary kazoo to one side, Beth. There is with it. I genuinely think it's good for the players. I think it's good for both sets of players. The thing I took from it is I thought both managers who have had effectively the same time in the job, I think both of them will have come away from it feeling a little bit like, you know what, that wasn't perfect, but I can see that my ideas are landing. I make all these changes and they still play the way I'd like them to play, and I thought that was one of my big positives from it for both sets of players.
Yeah, and I think that was the major positive that Arne Slot actually highlighted after the game, wasn't it? He said that. He said he could see that his ideas had filtered down to these players who maybe weren't playing every week, and that's a huge tick against the manager's name, isn't it? If players who haven't really played for him are still taking on board what he's doing and what he's believing in. So yeah, I thought it was hugely positive. I always love the Carabao Cup. It is, you know, as much as you sort of think of it as being sort of fourth on the list of priorities, because of the nature of it and how sort of, you know, how quickly it flies by. Like once you get to the quarterfinals, you sort of think, well, we might as well go all the way and win it now, and that's sort of where you sort of at with Liverpool at this moment in time. So
I like that. I know it's going to be over
by February.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, they're not talking by February, but the 90 minutes on the night, no extra time, no messing around.
Straight to pens.
Straight to pens.
No replays.
No replays, straight to pens.
It's just a great competition, and I think there's a few Liverpool players who are in a little bit of an awkward position because there's some areas where Liverpool are really light. So, you know, up front, obviously you've got some players having to go again and again, but the likes of Wataru Endo, the likes of Tyler Morton, who've been kept around as backup, haven't really been given a licence to show what they can do in the league or the Champions League. You know, Liverpool obviously had the Europa League last season that they could let some of the fringe players get a run out in. They don't have that luxury this season, so it is really important, and it was nice to see those players get a run out.
It's nice that you win, let's be clear. We might not be as positive if Matoma cuts in on his right foot, Arrow's 1 in and they win 3-2.
Yes.
It's worth saying, we've got to be honest about that, but it's also nice to see, firstly, some players who you've seen in seasons gone by. We'll come on to Quansah in a minute.
Yeah.
But also, like, the goalkeeper comes out with enormous credit. I thought Morton for 55 minutes before he tires visibly a little bit. I thought he, you know, you could think, you know what, there's a tidy footballer there, say what you want. I think it's nice to see these players, nice to see them get a chance.
And do you know what? I think you asked and said to I was enjoying it. I really enjoyed the match, even though there were times when I was like, oh, come on, Reds, you know, you can see a chance for it. But and it was partly because, like you said, Beth, you've got the identity that obviously Slot's trying to put in. And you can see that clearly. The lads who came in did, you know, just carried on playing as we have been. But it was nice to see Endo, you mentioned Morton, all playing well. It felt like one of those games where everyone sort of got a 6.5, 7 out of 10
minimum. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And then obviously a few higher than that. And I made up for Gakpo, and obviously I lost been 7. But I generally think he can be that, you know, that type of player for us all the time. I know obviously he's competing with the left wing spot with Diaz, but he just made up. I mean, and what a goal it was. So I think so. A really enjoyable night. Great for the lads who came in. And as I say, even though with like a minute to go, I was doing the same. I was asking them to blow the whistle. It was just nice to get over the line.
It helps the nature of them, I think, because you respect them. You think they're good.
Yeah.
So when your lads aren't necessarily doing as well as you'd like, in the back of your mind you'll go, but these are a good side. Eringer's a good player. You know, you go through the list in your own mind. Ferguson's a good player. These are good players. This lad's a good player.
I thought that Gruder was. I thought
isn't he a footballer?
Yeah, I thought he played really well.
Verts or something.
Is that what they've been saying? Yeah. So even watching them, there was a couple of times obviously the goal comes from a mistake from Quansah, but sometimes they'd open you up and you have to just go, you know what, fair play. They're a good footballing team. He's got them playing nice football. And okay, you can always pick the bones out of any chance you give away to say defensively where can you improve. But I didn't feel like I was watching thinking we're getting carved open. It was them that were doing good stuff, creating chances, and then also like the likes of Yaros with that save from the header, which was incredible. You know, I think Brighton are going to have chances against you. You know, we're obviously going to speak about tomorrow. You're going to say that they're probably going to have chances tomorrow. We don't want them to, but they probably will. So it's just about how you react to that then as well.
Just on the goal, the situation around that, Rob, the manager today sticks up for Quansah, his press conference.
Yeah, interesting.
But I think he's right, Timmy, that I think one of the things that you actually see, I think Quansah just tired. I think it's interesting, you know, he makes the error on about 80, when the one that deflects off him, it's very tired sort of bits of football that I've just got to get something on and throwing something at it. He's not played that many. I thought there was times last season when we were all very impressed with him, where I thought he had the odd 10 minutes here and there where he's got a big frame to get around. It's a long period of adult football at the highest level he's going through. I genuinely just thought, you know what, that's a lad who's just out of the habit of playing 90 minutes. Conversely, I thought Gomez was brilliant all the way through and really helped him through.
Yeah, there's a few unspokens on Quansah, certainly in the public discourse, which when I went back onto the job I'm working on, there's lads on the building side working with them. Their first comments were, threw Quansah under a bus there, didn't he? And that was the feeling when his number flashed up, because it was within a short time frame of the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was almost immediately afterwards.
It felt like the proverbial hook, didn't it?
Yeah.
It really did. And Quansah's face didn't look good. Not thunder, but he looked exactly what you'd fear when you take off a young player in that circumstance, a bit broken. So, and I think you can look at it two ways as a slot watcher. You can go, well, we admired it in turning the game for us at Ipswich. We liked that focus and that ruthlessness and that clarity of decision making. So you can't suddenly go, well, he should have protected a young boy. But at the same time, you can think, that poor boy, right? Actually, I did think at the time. Now, I think Slot's obviously an intelligent man, and he's reflected on that. I noticed in his post-match comments, he singled out Quansah and Gomez, but he didn't name-check him. So I think he's not doubling or overemphasising, but he's definitely sort of really making it clear. He's delivering a message to the player, hey, I thought you played well. He's really overstating it, the truth be told, because he needs to pick him up again a little bit. But that's football. It's tough at the top, isn't it, Brian?
Well, no, it is tough at the top, Beth. And as I say, I think you get to 75 minutes. If you'd have took him off at 75, we'd all have said, what 75 minutes for Quansah, looks back to his best, the manager's just brought Canate in there. It goes the way in which it goes. And as I say, to me, I think it's predominantly just legs. There's a lot of concentration at centre-back. They're a tough proposition. They're constantly asking questions of you as well, the way they play.
They've also just thrown on, their main first choice striker, Danny Welbeck's, who come in. So, you've got...
And he's coming in fresh and in form.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I do think as well, like you say, if that mistake doesn't happen, you're looking at it and you're thinking, what a solid performance from him, from a young player who hasn't played a lot this season. And I actually think, he didn't even really register how good he was for me in that first 60 minutes or so, because he was just going about his business, mopping everything up quietly, like Van Dijk-esque, didn't do anything super flashy, but everything he did do, he did really, really well. And I actually think that the mistake, it doesn't come from him being sort of out-muscled or losing a duel or whatever. It's just a bit of sloppiness. It's just a moment that he switches off. And it was sort of similar to the United one earlier this year, where he it's a bit of a loose pass that Fernandes gets onto and then
scores from 50 yards,
which you really can't legislate for. But I think the frustrating thing, probably from Slot's perspective, is it turned what was a very comfortable game for Liverpool into a much nervier one.
Yeah.
And I do completely take the point of it's brutal in a way, and it very much jars with what Jurgen Klopp would have done, because I just don't think Jurgen Klopp would have taken Quansah off in that situation. However, you've got to look at it and say, well, maybe he'd lost his head a little bit by then. Maybe he was a bit leggy, as you say.
Really leggy, yeah.
And so if Liverpool go on and concede another and it goes to penalties and they go out, would Quansah be feeling worse right now than the current situation that he's in? And I think he probably would. And I think, the manager is there to get results, and that's exactly what he did. And so I don't really blame him for what he did, and I think in the long run it will help Quansah become a better player.
Come on and talk about the follow-up game. There's one big question, Rob, which is who you start left wing. Off the back of this one, because you know the two great finishes from Gakpo, the sort of finishes that not that many players do once in any given season. The fact that he does them twice, you know, I keep coming back to it. There's a lot to be said for hitting the ball unbelievably hard. It sounds really reductive when you say that, but you know, the highest ever scorer in Premier League history is Alan Shearer. And if you ask me to define Shearer's finishing in one word, my word would be, in fact this understates it, powerful. I've never seen anyone
Haaland hits the ball very hard.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good comparison, but I've genuinely never seen anyone season in, season out strike the ball like Alan Shearer did. And both of those Gakpo finishes were, in that sense, Shearer-esque. You can talk about, well, they are both a bit in the corner. You know, they were a bit in the corner, but ultimately, if he doesn't strike that first one as well, he gets their steal. The second one, to hit it at that pace and wrong foot, and I just think it's what I'm saying is the unreal strikes, and seeing him be capable of that, I think, is exciting.
Yeah, they're genuinely world-class strikes. I mean, the first one is the more obvious goal of the month contender, but the second one, he has a little look at the near post, and he works out he's got a couple of inches. And he gets accuracy and power. It's a phenomenal strike, the second one. You're right. We don't talk about the pace at which a player hits a ball that much anymore. I mean, Steven Gerrard used to hit the ball more. I remember when I was young, people used to go, late 70s. Peter Lorimer and Jimmy Case were renowned in football as being able to strike a football particularly hard. I do wonder with the tech on the ball these days, there's so much grip a boot can get on a ball. Everyone's more obsessed with moving it. Yeah. You know. And therefore the art of putting your foot properly through it
in a way which is, by the way, so satisfying when it hits the back of the net.
Satisfying. Yeah, maybe it's been lost slightly. Everyone maybe always looks for curl, always looks to open their foot out, rather than the top of the laces. But you know, they were world-class finishes. He has got that in his locker. I mean, the only problem with Gakpo as a footballer, I've been very Gakpo, cynical, maybe the wrong word, but I just want to see a sense that he's going to be a threat game in, game out. I don't expect those 2 goals game in, game out, but I want the threat. This season it's been an interesting one. That was similar to the AC Milan away performance. He was outstanding. I don't think he doesn't score in that, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He scores twice in the League Cup and he scored twice in this one. He's quite streaky in that sense. Whereas he comes on against Arsenal, and I thought he reduced our threat on the left. Obviously, Diaz wasn't having his best game, but he was hurting them. And Gakpo didn't.
And you'd think running a tiring path, it should have been exactly what he brought him on.
So that was frustrating. But then you watch that performance against another Premier League club away, and it was a world-class performance. In terms of who will he go for? Well, he took Gakpo off, which signals that it is Gakpo. I mean, it might be because Diaz gets Leverkusen and Villa. I mean, I think he's genuinely and he's more or less said himself at a cusp moment where it's either or. And I'm just picking their games for them because they're both playing outstandingly well. Sorry, I'll wrap this up in a sec, but Luis Diaz, I looked at he quietly scores a lovely goal, and he needed it because he'd been on a little 3-4 game barren stretch. He's hitting a goal every 122 minutes or something this season, which is our highest score, which is faster than Salah if you discount the penalties. So he's still hitting his stripes. We're very, very lucky at this moment in time.
We are indeed. More on this to come in a second or two. Erdinger, the wonderful Marboils, the food's tremendous, the downstairs is the business. We're very pleased to be here. And we're pleased to be drinking the Erdinger over lunchtime. See you in a second.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Welcome back with Rob, with Beth, with Paul. Beth, I think there's a little thing here where not only have they played Brighton Wednesday, I think the other thing to have an eye on the horizon is Leverkusen Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I think that it's an important selection, the Brighton one, obviously, because you want to win the game, but it's important, I think, not to take too much from it, because I think that the manager will have a look at this in a minute and think, you know what, we're one good performance in Europe away from hitting the halfway mark with maximum points. You know, we keep having this conversation, me and Rob had it ad infinitum in the summer how many points you need. But whether Rob's right with 14 or 15 or I'm right with 16 or 17, if you're on 12 from 4, you're in really good nick to get whatever that total is. So I think that it's important, I think, not to read too much into selection at this sort of point in terms of what's his preference. But what do you think he will do for this Brighton game?
I think it's hard because I think really, it really has hit me over the last 10 days or so when Diogo Jota's out, when Chiesa's out, how limited Liverpool's attacking options are, particularly because Harvey Elliott was so adept at being able to cover multiple positions.
Could do bits for you,
he could do bits on the right. He obviously preferred to play a sort of a number 10, so you automatically lose a bit of that. So it's hard because he is having to ask players to go again. I think Salah will start. He obviously comes off. Nunes as well comes off the bench on Wednesday. So I think those two will start. The real quandary, I guess, is the left wing spot. I'd be tempted to start Gakpo purely because I think, you have a performance like that, you score 2 goals like that, especially when you've got games coming thick or fast, like it's just a bit of a boost for him, isn't it, almost?
It's got to be worth something, hasn't it? Scoring 2 like that.
He can't do much more than what he's done there. And I also think as well, Diaz is a better sub than Gakpo is, because I think Gakpo is a little bit more composed, a little bit more controlled. I think Diaz is a little bit more unpredictable, and you sort of think, if you're up against a tiring fullback, you need a goal at 60 minutes on the clock, and Gakpo's not really done it for you. Diaz would cause more problems than Gakpo would, I think, coming off the bench. So I think he might go with Gakpo there. Midfield, again, it's sort of the Jones versus Szoboszlai debate, isn't it? I'd be tempted to put Szoboszlai in. He obviously doesn't start against Arsenal.
And comes off.
So again, that probably hints at that. McAllister probably goes again.
You think McAllister and Gravenberch? McAllister comes on, Gravenberch didn't even travel. So I think that bit does itself.
Yeah, Trent obviously doesn't travel either. So he comes in, Van Dijk comes back in, Konate gets, a rest for 80 minutes. And then obviously it's the left-back debate, isn't it? I think at this moment in time he'll go for Kostas Tsimikas. I think the fact that he doesn't play on Wednesday is really telling. I
think his press conference as well, he spoke about Robertson, hasn't he? Like this, not having a full pre-season, etc., coming back in from the Euro. So I think it did kind of, it looked like he was leaning towards that Tsimikas start.
What I think is that also coming up against Leverkusen, we know, because we all looked into Xabi, we know that they play this hybrid back 3, back 4, back 5. Sometimes the right back goes all the way up there. I wonder whether or not Paul, he's had his eye on this idea of actually, I'd quite like Robertson and Diaz for Leverkusen, and we're almost working around that. That's in the back of his mind here. So and that's why I think it's important to us look at Brighton in the context of Leverkusen. I do wonder whether or not you'll think, right, Robertson and Diaz for this one, Tsimikas and Gakpo for the game against Brighton in the league, and that's my plan.
And also you mentioned better about Gakpo starting. I think from a Brighton point of view, with the thing Lamptey was pushed off the wall. If he is starting Lamptey and you're playing against a lad who potentially 3 days ago, I'm sure he
was great coming forward.
He was great going forward, but he kind of
he's start Veltman.
He's got to, hasn't he?
He's got to start.
Yeah, you
come to Anfield. Yeah, it might be. He might think, when we refine this and we improve it, if we go to their place again, but he's got to start Veltman.
You'd think so, because obviously that would be that. We're talking about Quansah getting sort of thrown. Obviously, Manchester United, you go and play that lad again who did that here on Wednesday. But so.
Why isn't Lamptey a winger? Why do they think he's a fullback?
I don't know. I think it's a really good question.
He's a really good winger.
Well, why is he playing for the team that plays 3 at the back?
He'd probably be great in that wing back.
Man United should buy him with the new fella.
Yeah.
I just when he was a kid, I thought, wow, what a talent, right? And obviously he had a load of injuries, and he's been exposed defensively time and time again to such an extent that people have all but written him off.
Yeah.
But that was one of my longest close encounters with Lamptey, and I thought, Jesus Christ, he's sensational. He was tearing us apart on that side. Yeah, but anyway, that's by the way. I mean, in terms of us, I think the interesting thing will be looking at the week ahead, the 3 games before the international break. How many will play all 3 games is a question. And given Slot's predilection, with Klopp, you could go, okay, I think this many will play 2 of the 3. But with Arne, having done, it was effectively 9 changes, wasn't it, in the week?
Yeah.
Now I think it's going to be 9 changes flipped back the other way.
I think that pentagon of 5 of the goalkeeper, the 2 centre halves, and the 2 centre mids are playing all 3.
Yeah, so do I. Absolutely.
I think Trent not travelling to Brighton says to me Trent's playing all 3.
Yeah.
I think 7 of the outfield 10 are playing all 3.
So Nunez and Salah are starting all 3.
Yeah.
He rotates the left winger. He rotates the left back.
And the number 10.
And he rotates the number 10.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why I said those three positions are rotating.
So 8 of the 11 are going to play all 3.
8 of the 11, yeah.
Yep.
That's what I think. That's why I think he thought we have to go for broke in terms of our changes against Brighton. I do. It's sort of got under a bit of the radar, but the conversation about how he decides to play in a strikerless system, I thought that was again bold, and I liked that a lot. He previewed it in pre-season against, was it Real Betis? I think it was.
Yeah.
He said, "I've got no striker." So he played a dual 10. Was it Curtis and Szoboszlai then? I think it might be the pair of them then. Or it was Harvey Elliott and Szoboszlai then. This time it was Curtis and Szoboszlai. And when the team dropped, I thought that's exactly what he was going to do. And I thought it broadly worked okay.
I wondered if he looked at that in part as well, because it's what he might well do if we're ahead in these games, to help see them out.
Yep.
To take Nunez off. So if we get ahead against Brighton, get a couple of goal leads,
that's his striker sub. The striker sub is 2 in the 10.
The striker sub is no striker.
Yeah.
Get Nunez off for 20. He's going to start to get into Leverkusen. If you're comfortable against Leverkusen, do that. It's worth saying as well, Beth, it's 3 tough games in a week. It's 3 homes.
Yeah.
And Villa, we're going to be up against in game 3. They're 3 aways. We're their 3rd away of the run as well. And I do think that sometimes this stuff breaks for you, sometimes it breaks against you. I think earlier in this run it broke against us. Arsenal had 1 more day's prep. They were at home as well. They had a more straightforward game. They were at home, and they were at home against us. This time, but we got the 2-2. Now this is breaking for us, and I think it's a massive week. I think it's a massive week in the context of the season. 2 wins and a draw in Europe would be good. 3 wins would be absolutely brilliant to set up the run into Christmas.
Yeah, 3 wins will be some statement, wouldn't it? When you consider there was a lot of talk, before the last international break about Liverpool haven't played anyone good, and this is going to be the challenge, and really they've come through that challenge remarkably well. Obviously, only dropping points at Arsenal, and you've got to look at that and think it was a really good point in the context of the game. So, I think if they were to get certainly 2 wins and a draw, but if they got 3 wins, I think it would be such a statement, particularly when you consider they've got Manchester City on the other side of the international break, they've got Real Madrid on the other side of the international break. It just maybe takes a little bit of pressure off them when they get through to that run of fixtures. And I think it will be interesting actually having 3 home games in terms of the narrative around the atmosphere and things like that, because we know obviously Liverpool on the road this season have been absolutely flying. They've won all but 1 game. The one defeat has come at home, and so Liverpool want to ensure that Anfield remains a fortress under Arne Slot, don't they? And I think this week is the real opportunity from the players, but also from the fans as well, just being in the stadium to say, right, if you come here, you're not getting anything from us.
The 3 big games, I'm so excited for it. I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm so eager. I can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait for Leverkusen. Can't wait for Villa. I mean, it's a real, God, we're lucky to get all do this. This occurred to me today, I just can't wait. It's going to be
I know. Do you know what, Neil, as well? And I know we don't really you can only control what you do, kind of. But if you look at City and they obviously got a few injuries at the moment, and they've got to go to Bournemouth, which is never an easy game.
They'll play football, won't they?
They will. And then next week, I'm not too sure, they've got midweek in one, but they play Brighton away, don't they? City. That's their last game before.
Right.
Yeah. And you think, Brighton, I know Herlitz came up today and said, the next 2 games are showing where we're at and, whether we can challenge these sort of so-called big teams. So I just think if we can get a couple of good results and, I say a midweek win would be it just puts that little bit of pressure on.
Arsenal away at Newcastle, away at Inter, and away at Chelsea.
I know.
That's horrible. And at some point the fixtures will ease for them, of course. But that's a horrible little run.
Yeah, and but maybe we're at that stage where we're confident of not even looking at Arsenal anymore. You mean? But
I tell you what, you're frisky.
It's the
Erdinger, yeah. Arsenal kick off 12:30 against Newcastle. Yeah. I'm sure we'll all be glued to it, not least because it's the most bad-tempered game in football these days. And I love all that. Don't get me wrong. But then moving forward, I just think for us, I think we can only control what we can control, but this is a week where we get to control it. We are at home, and this to me is the most important thing. We've done the hard part. We've done the away at Arsenal. Whilst it will be an intense week, it's 3 homes. It's 3 good teams, but it's 3 homes, and that should be where we're tough.
Yeah, it is intriguing. They're all, I was looking at the betting beforehand. We're going to go into all 3 as handy favourites, not like 80% as if we were playing a bottom 6 side, but we're going to be handy favourites. But then again, the odds of winning all 3 are tough. I mean, we can look at them entirely as a banker. 3 would be dreamland. I almost think of the Leverkusen home one a bit like a League Cup game, because we've got 6 on the board and because there's loads of
on the board.
Oh, sorry, we've got 9. Even
don't talk us down.
Yeah, sorry.
Mighty boys in red.
We've got 9 on the board, and after Leverkusen, we've still another 4 game. we can lose that. I don't want to because I think it won't help us to be Villa. It'll help us to be Villa by beating Leverkusen.
Yeah.
But I want those 2 league wins, but those 2 league wins and Leverkusen's just a free hit, and it'd be just a lovely treat to beat Germany's best side. I don't know.
But also I think as well having Xavi back, you know, we you know, let's face it, he's adored by us, and although we want to absolutely smash the team off the pitch, I think it'll be nice to have him back. I'm sure they'll get a great reception.
I will be giving him a great reception.
Okay,
I'll boo him.
okay.
He'll bring his imaginary whistle.
Yeah,
Exactly. We're imagining him.
yeah. But I just think that'll add to the atmosphere. I think that'll add to the atmosphere. Hopefully, you know, yeah.
It'll be the business. It's been great to be in Marble. It's been Friday night. Thanks a lot to Beth, to Rob with his kazoo, and to Paul. We've all had a lovely time with Erdinger in Marbles. It's Friday night before what is a massive week. Let's get stuck into these. See you in a minute.